Hi, this is Chuck Wolf, and welcome back to Place Parts on a Wednesday afternoon in the midst of the third English lockdown in Newbury, Berkshire, United Kingdom. In the last episode, we spoke with an American actor, a comedic actor who has come to specialize in hyper-local issues of place, and we talked about some of the issues we covered in the first three episodes. Today, we return to Newbury to talk about the guiding principles of my new book, Sustaining a City's Culture and Character. And we're starting off in an urban mall that opened only a few years ago, but has clearly suffered the impacts of the coronavirus pandemic. Just like other examples of these commercial settings around the world, there's the question of how places like this will adapt after the pandemic. It doesn't take too long to see how some commercial uses on what can be called a modern English high street will live on and others won't be so fortunate. In fact, at the far end of the mall is the Debenhams department store that will likely never reopen after its recent acquisition by an online concern that intends to close all of its brick and mortar stores. On our way to the town's traditional high street, we dart down a side lane, which actually has considerable significance in the history of Newbury. This is said to have been the residence of Jack of Newbury, a well-known tailor who created much of the basis of the town's history as a textile center. Here on the town's traditional high street, we see a little more street life because there are essential businesses that continue to remain open. This street is typical of the current situation where some stores will clearly remain, as we just saw a moment ago, and some will pass on. And we see that dramatically playing out right in front of us as we pan down what is, during the day, a pedestrian thoroughfare. The cars are allowed to return at night. As those of you who've begun to follow this series know, in these videos I like to take what could be argued to be a complex book and explain the principles in a straightforward manner with video backdrop. The high street is a good place to play out the two principles, the two main formula or methods of the book, which I'll talk about more as this series continues. I like to argue that places should be understood not only contextually, but based on substantial immersion. We can't just call a place authentic because authentic and authenticity mean so many different things. And it's here at the canal that I'm going to introduce the book's major overarching method, the LEARN method. LEARN, in this case, stands for the words look, engage, assess, review, and negotiate. And to my mind, that is the way to truly understand a place with a mixture of art, science, and more. I spend a lot of time asking what learn, engage, assess, review, and negotiate might mean, from interdisciplinary ways of assessing a place with numbers or photos or interviews or many other methods, to different ways that people might engage with one another and approach the final letter of learn, negotiate, to achieve what we call a co-created outcome that is neither top-down nor bottom-up, but optimal, just, and equitable, at least in theory, to all of those affected. Now, the idea is, of course, as the earlier videos have already informed us, that learn will produce different results for different places. And that's where the context keys come in. 3 more words: familiarity, congruity, and integrity. And we'll talk about those more as this series goes on. But I use those words as 3 additional gateways to truly understanding what can be argued to be a unique mixture of attributes and how they land in different ways across the world. That's all for today, and we'll be back again next Tuesday with episode 6 of Place Parts.